All right, here we are in Las Vegas at the AIM Fuse conference, and oh man, this is a treat. I'm so excited because Christine Beckwith is with me, and I'm sure that I don't need to introduce you to anybody watching this because Christine is all over the map in the mortgage industry. I'm going to say one of the most, if not the most influential woman in our industry today.
Thank you. And oldest probably.
Well,
too.
no. I wasn't going down that road at all. Christine,
hi.
Best all friends. The best part is we've been friends for 30 years,
man.
so that's awesome.
It's just great to see someone I know out here that's been out here like for 3 decades. And I have to say, he's going to interview me, but we're just coming in from the big stage at Fuse. And it's been a minute since I seen this man on stage, and he's still got it. You need to check out what he's got to offer because he knows this market. I took notes even. The audience was riveted. He had everybody talking with him. It was great.
Well, thank you.
It was
You're way
really
too
great.
kind.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you're doing with coaching. Let's start first before we get into that. I want you to share some of your wisdom.
Sure.
With the people out there. I mean, you have done it all. You've been in the business for many, many, many years.
Yep.
You run your business now for 5 years as a coaching and consulting company.
Yep.
You were originator, senior manager, executive manager. You have done it all. So you've been through markets similar to this before, like I have. Talk about what you think are the things that are absolutely critical today for originators to be doing to succeed.
I am in the trenches every single week, 6 to 12 hours in classes. So I'm hearing, the doom and gloom, and as well as those that are conquering this market.
Yep.
Here's what I know is that there's a generation of loan officer here that didn't live through 07 and 08. They think that this is like it, and it is on the surface because companies are talking about LO, decreased volume, and rising interest rates. And those are 2 pain points that we had in 07 and 08. But there's a difference. It's kind of like we had the flu back then, the market. We have the flu now. But back then, we had high deficiency, low demand.
Yep.
So that meant we had a crashing market with no equity. Today, we have high demand, which drives up value.
Right.
And we have moderate to low deficiency. So we don't have a delinquency issue, even though the investors are getting very, very picky and doing overlays because it's a cautious market with the rate going up. What does that all mean? It means that the way we think about the declining market, if we put on the brakes and we get deer in the headlights because we think we don't know how to solve to this, we're really doing ourselves a disservice as originators. So I think there's a deer in the headlight effect going on.
Yep.
What's happening is we had it easy. The fish were jumping in the barrel the last 5 years. And now we have to kind of take the boat out to the middle of the lake and we're fishing all day for a fish. We're not bringing back buckets of fish the way. So we've been spoiled. So number one, there's a work ethic effect.
Yep.
Like I got to work way harder and
love it.
That's hard. Number two, you said it on stage. The consumer does not want to call you and raise their interest rate. I heard about somebody last week that consolidated their 401k, a homeowner, to avoid raising their 2.5% mortgage interest rate because they wanted to sit on that. Now, just basic math. They didn't want to go up 4.5%, 5% in interest rate, so they paid a 40% tax hit. Okay.
And a 10% penalty.
But that speaks to the desperation and the mindset. The old school grandpa advice of layman mortgage, which we all got from our grandparents, is pay your mortgage off early, pay it down, pay it extra, don't pay points, and get a low interest rate, and never refi unless you're getting a low interest rate. And that's not financial literacy. It's not good financial advice. Yeah. Today we understand, and if you look at the objection in that, I always say, why do we want to pay our mortgages off? Well, we don't want to leave our kids with debt. And I get that. But we have modern vehicles today, like insurance, that will prevent that debt from being left to our children.
Right.
So we can use the vehicle of it to create further wealth and reduce debt and all these things. We have to be true mortgage experts in this market, and we've got to start the conversation. The phone is not ringing inbound. So we've got to raise our hands, like you said in there. You made a very, very good point, the way that you broke it out. It's about debt, and we've got to start that conversation. We literally need to say, if you want to raise your interest rate, give me a call right now so I can tell you if you can save hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars in doing so in overall financial debt. And that leads with the objection that we're afraid of as loan originators.
Right. That we know we're going to get.
That's right. But the people calling, we now know they're ready for the conversation. Right. And then we can take it from there. So I think there's such a resistance. Like, I really believe as we talk more and more and more in our classrooms, we are seeing originators catching on, starting to move their marketing to the conversation, going straight to the jugular on the objection, and they're starting to get the cash out refis. Those companies that bring in people like yourself, myself, and true sales leadership right now, because they're worried about everything else right now.
Right.
The executives, they're worried about getting their boats light enough. And you get it. So, I mean, that's my take.
So I loved your analogy.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to go out to the middle of the lake and you're fishing for maybe one fish.
That's it.
All right. So let's talk about that for a minute, because here's where I see the biggest single problem in the marketplace outside of what you've already said, which is we're just not putting in the effort, the time to generate the opportunities.
Yeah.
It takes a whole different level in this marketplace. But when they finally do get the one fish, then they spend 7 minutes with it. Yeah. So it can jump right back in. Let's talk about that.
Reeling it in is a thing. That's what you're talking about right now. Yes. I mean, we've got to not only raise the conversation, but now we got to talk about the objections. And I just said some of those in this little analogy is I don't want to raise my principal. I don't want to raise my interest. If you are not using, so I just said 07 and 08 is not like this market. The big difference is we had no equity back then.
Right. And so now we've got record equity.
What makes a cake in the mortgage industry? Flour, eggs, water, I say. It is, you got to have equity and you got to have debt.
Debt.
We have the highest debt we've had in 20 years, and we're at the highest equity point we've been in 20 years. We got two of the major ingredients, and we got LOs going, I can't bake a cake.
That's right. That's what I used to call Uncle Ed.
So I'm calling myself a cake chef now. I just think it comes down to common sense. I think people have been spoiled. If you're only a loan officer that's going to serve to lowering an interest rate, well, your business is going to ebb and flow through whatever we're going to go through.
Yep.
If you're going to be in this for a career, you're going to learn how to be a mortgage expert. And that requires looking at the financial portfolio of a person, looking at their debt position, looking at their home as the vehicle, and then helping them understand that raising the principal raises their tax deduction, that getting cash and creating liquidity gives them the reserves they need to be in a better credit situation. Lowering their debt puts them in a better credit situation, puts them in a better high reoccurring liquidity position.
Yep.
All of these things are financial wealth builders, and we have all the ingredients to do that right now. And we're sitting around going, I can't lower the rate, so I can't do a loan. I'm like, really? Like, please put me back on an origination desk right now. I sometimes think I should quit consulting and just go right back to originating.
Yeah, I've thought about it a few times too. How important do you think it is to build relationship in this marketplace?
I think it is, for our age, we're over here telling like old war stories. I think it's a foregone. You said it again. I got to go back to your presentation. I just sat through his presentation. And he said, stop sending links. And I was like, amen from the back, say it louder.
Yep.
Because we want to technologically do all these advanced things. I just recently sat my sales team down and I said, guys, just because we can send them to a landing page, and I almost said exactly what you said, but not in that way. Just because we can do this, and just because we can do this automated, and just because we can do that faster, I don't know that faster and automated is building our relationships and some sort of plug and play. My CRM guy said, let's set up a link at the booth and then we'll have an automatic CRM go out. And I said, no. I said, we're not going to do that. You know why? Because you're going to scare all our warm leads away.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the minute they see us spamming them, when we actually make the call, and we might have done a good job at the booth, they're not going to want to take our call.
That's right. That's right.
And so I said no to that. And so it comes down to, I think, just good old talk to people, be real. If you're an honest loan officer and you believe that you're a loyal one and that you're trustworthy and you have integrity, if you have those ingredients as a human, You're a good person. You want to do good. You're not going to take a bad loan. You're not going to try to convince somebody to do a bad loan. You're fine. Talk to them and find the people that need our help. It's that simple. And then you're going to get another loan out of it.
That's right.
Okay? You're going to put them in a temporary situation. By the way, the average length of the loan that we've had in the last 40 years is 32 to 36 months.
Yep.
We have people that don't want to put their car loans in their mortgages because they say, I don't want to take a 7-year car loan and stretch it over 30 years. Well, you're not. You're probably taking a 7-year car loan and stretching it over 3 years.
Right.
So you're reducing your term payoff because I want you to understand something. If your mortgage is $100,000, stupid example, $100,000 and your car is $40,000, again, silly examples. If you move the 40 to the 100 and it becomes 140 and your car debt becomes 0, guess how much debt you have? 140.
That's right.
But the difference is you might have had 100 at whatever rate. You had the 40,000 at this rate.
Right.
You might have saved $700 if you refinance or sell or whatever in the average 32 to 36 months. You've cut your car loan from 7 years to, and you've got a higher tax deductible vehicle. You've created liquidity for savings and investment. And I have LOs that get angry at me because they say that's the worst advice ever to put your car loan in your home. And I said, who told you that? Who told you that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now you sell me on why that's bad.
That's right.
And
they
can't.
can't.
And they can't.
Right.
Because they are just going by old adages that don't make financial sense.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to be the teacher of financial sense and literacy, and we'll see.
So let's
how
talk about
goes.
that.
Yeah.
2020 Vision coaching.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
You started that because you wanted to coach loan
Yep.
officers. Tell people what you do and how it impacts them.
I have a story that I'll share. When I was 14, I grew up very poor. This is my walked up hill both ways in the snow story, to teenage parents, lovely parents who just had their 55th wedding anniversary last week and are still together and amazing. But they were teenagers and we were poor. And when I was 14, I was going into high school and I wanted to go to college prep classes. And my parents were very feet on the ground, logistical, and they said logical. And they said, go into business prep. You could become a secretary one day. And the principal of my school challenged my parents. And I'd never seen anyone challenge my mom and dad.
Yep.
And they said, you're not giving her a chance to get to college. Let her go into the college prep. And they said, well, if she does that, she's going to be really disappointed if we can't send her to school financially. And they knew they couldn't afford to do so. So at 14 years old, I began to work with guidance counselors. I did extracurricular. I had to keep a 4.0 grade point average. When I graduated, the night of my scholarship night, my senior year, I won over 50% of my entire senior class's scholarships.
Wow.
And I had like my first Rudy moment in my life where I was in a predominant
moment. I love that.
I was in a predominantly wealthy town. We lived on the outskirts of the White Mountains, and the average home was like $1 million. It was second homes. And the kids wanted to see me go to college. They knew I was working when they weren't working.
Yeah.
They were playing and doing things, and I was working. And I always had jobs, too, through school. So when I won that night, it was an emotional night for me. It was an emotional night for my father. I remember my father getting very teary-eyed because he was worried. He was giving me a speech in the car on the way there, and he was like, if you don't, win scholarships tonight. And I was like, Dad, you sound like you preparing my concession speech right now. I'm like, we're going to win tonight, Dad.
That's right.
We're going in and we're going to win tonight. But that is the basis of who I am at my heart.
So coaching's in your DNA.
I feel like the whole time I was serving in the mortgage industry, I had this knack for wanting to stay behind to help the guy that was struggling, or I just wanted to pay it forward. And so somewhere in my career, I got really burned out on all the other stuff and said, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher at heart. I have the patience for it. And I'm going to build a school. I wish I had a school like I've built when I was growing up. And I think I'm helping a lot of people.
Yep.
And that's basically the story.
You are.
Yeah.
60 coaches, right?
Yep.
It's crazy. So you're making a big difference.
Thank you.
You always have, but you're making a huge difference in the marketplace today, and people need coaching on a consistent basis. And it's hard to find coaches that haven't been there.
Yeah.
That's what I love
true.
about what you do.
Thank you.
So
same heart to serve, to help, to make a difference, to live a purpose-filled life.
Yep.
I come from some really good, I think, genetics. I had great aunts that were librarians, and they were just salt of the earth people, and they were farmers, and they gave back, and they went to church on Sunday.
Love it.
And they gave meals to their neighborhood and took people in, and we spent all our holidays together, and that's who I am at my core. So I'm here still. I'm getting older now. You're going to see me for maybe another 5 or 7 years. I don't want to put a number on it, but it's harder and harder to come to these things. But I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing as long as I can do it, And I want to thank you. I think you have been an inspiration to me. He is not way older than me. But I was in a much lesser position than him 30 years ago, whereas he was still on a stage then, and I was a young, budding manager. And some of the techniques he taught me then, I think I was a good student. I've always been a good student. I wrote down, and I always say, people say, where did you learn all your, business acumen? And I said, I swear to God, the Dale Vermillions of the world, I'll say that. I took copious notes. I don't know. I might be selling his entire program over there for all I know.
It's fine. We're here to sow seeds and let them grow. There's plenty of business for all of us.
That's right.
We're
Abundance
not worried about
mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I love it that you're making such a difference, because you always have. Great to be here with you. Great
Thanks
to hang
out.
Thanks
for having me.
Great to see you again. Let's do this again soon.
I know. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Christine. Awesome.
Yay!